I imagine at one time you were this brilliant little child. As we enter into adulthood, what was brilliant in childhood can actually get in the way of you living the life you want to live. Hello, friends. I'm Nancy Houston. I want to help you live a better life. We're all emotional creatures who sometimes think. And so it's so important that we make this journey from our heads into the depths of our hearts. Welcome to the In-Between with Nancy Houston. Hello, everyone. We're so glad that you're here with us. Today I have Hector, the producer, in the studio with me.
Amen.
Hey, Hector. And we've got Derek, our friend. So,
Dector. This is Dector.
Derek. Man, I can't talk today. Derek, thank you for joining us. We're glad you're here.
Nance.
And we're glad our friends are here.
Listen.
Hello, friends. We love you. We're so excited to be with you this morning.
Listen, we love them. They're here. God's kids, you know, the whole thing.
Yeah.
But me and you were having a conversation offline about some very, very exciting things that you and your boys are starting.
Yeah.
And I thought it'd be appropriate that we start at least bringing the conversation and bringing the community in. So if you're down, would you be down to give us a little layout?
I'm so down to do this. So as many of you know, I've been a therapist, a sex therapist, an executive coach, for decades now. And my son Micah, whom you all met on a previous podcast, he's an executive leadership coach. So he and I and one of my other sons have paired together, and we are building a new business called Better Lives Coaching. Our goal is to help you live a better life. We just feel like I feel so blessed because I live a better life than the life I grew up living. And it took a lot of work and a lot of help to get me to where I am today. I could not do the recovery process by myself. And I am so thankful that on this journey I've been in, I had therapists. I had some great therapists. I still remember my first one. He's amazing. Thank you, Brock. I have had great coaches. You met Gary. Gary is still one of my coaches. I love that man. And I've had others along the way who have just mentored me, loved me, helped me. And I wouldn't be where I am today, which I love my life. I am so grateful for all that God's done for me. And I believe that God wants that for you. He wants you to live a better life. And so we are building this amazing business that's going to be here for you. And we're going to have coaches, so you can access a coach if you need one. We are going to have content for you. And we are going to have groups where you can get into a group and you can totally get the help that you need. You know, there's a saying that I love: when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So we want to be the type of company that when you are ready, we are here for you. So be watching for things that are to come.
Yes.
We're very excited about it. So stay tuned. We're getting closer and closer to our launch day.
And I just want to say I'm genuinely so excited for everything you're doing, because everyone has gotten a taste of what it's like to work with you and people that are like you, right? Like-minded therapists and coaches.
Yeah.
And it's been really cool to just see you go into a completely polar opposite direction, which is the interwebs, doing this on the internet to reach more people, because you've been doing it for so long, but it's all local.
Yeah.
It's all been locally.
Yeah.
And now this just gives an opportunity for someone in Maine or Cali to have access to either you or like-minded coaches.
That's right.
That can actually start putting in the work.
Absolutely. And we want to provide like top-notch, top-shelf help for people, because sometimes it's hard to find that. And so we really want to provide that for people. And we're so excited to do it. We can't wait for this to launch and for us to get to connect with you in more ways. Yeah, I'm a firm believer. We got to take it out of the walls of our offices, even the walls of the groups that I do, and like, hey, how can we take this to the world?
Yeah, it needs to get to the world
Yeah,
because
that's what we
listen,
wanna do.
those in-person groups for some people they just would never be able to do it. It's
Absolutely.
impossible. But
Yeah.
if there's a solution that they can get that in a technology version,
Yeah.
and more affordable for them, then that's a win.
Isn't that great?
It's
Where
gonna
now
be
we
awesome.
can just come to you,
That's
come
what
to
I'm
your
saying.
home. I love that idea. You don't have to go somewhere. You don't have to travel. You don't have to spend all that money doing all that. We'll come to you.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be epic.
Yeah.
So we have questions from Q&A.
Oh, cool.
People sent in questions via Instagram, and we will be, because this is gonna air on this week.
Yeah.
So in about 2 or 3 weeks, maybe 3, maybe 2, I don't know. We're gonna start promoting that we're doing a live stream.
Oh, I can't
So we need everyone to
wait.
pull up. We need everyone to pull up so that you can hang with us because we're building this community.
We are. And I just want to connect with you. I
Exactly.
love to connect with people. It's my favorite thing in the world to do. And, I was reading this passage this morning in Luke where Jesus told Peter, hey, Peter, you're going to be ground like wheat. And I was just thinking about when we lived in Oregon, I used to grind my own wheat so I could make bread. And I'm like, ooh, that's a painful process to be ground like wheat. And then Jesus said, and after you recover, then you can turn around and help your brothers, help others. And I was just thinking, man, we're all invited to a recovery process. And even if you didn't have like some of the childhood trauma I did, everybody's life is different. But all of us need a recovery process. And we've got to do our own work. And we've got to have things ground and sifted out of us that aren't helpful so that you can be made into this beautiful, like, I don't know, like a loaf of bread is useful and beautiful and it feeds people, right? So all of us are meant to be ground, and then we're meant to be in a recovery process, and then we're meant to turn around and help others because we've done the work. And that's kind of like my life mission. Like, I want to turn around and help others because I have been helped.
Well, are we down to get into some Q&A?
We are, bud. Let's
All
go.
right. So I got one we have a few from IG. I think this one, we're going to just start a little soft, and then we'll go
Okay.
into some of the heavy stuff.
Okay.
Then I think this is relatable for everyone in the work field.
Yeah.
How can one recover from toxic work environments that they have left? And could you kind of explain what that does to a person when they've
Yeah.
experienced all of that
Yeah.
and then they leave, and what that process has looked like?
You know what, Hector? I have been there, done that, where I needed to leave a toxic environment. And man, shame does one of two things to all of us. Shame, there's healthy shame. We don't talk much about healthy shame, but healthy shame is when we recognize, like, I was super rude and I need to apologize. Or I was thoughtless. Or I wasn't paying attention and I think that was hurtful towards this other person. That's healthy shame. And we all need a dose of healthy shame. What toxic shame does is people either go high and become better than and grandiose, or people go low and they feel like, I'm worthless, I'm unlovable, I can't do anything right. And that's what a toxic culture does. And so in a work environment like that, you'll be working around some who've gone high, they're grandiose, they need a hand down, they think they're better than everybody. And those types of bosses or those kinds of environments can be very hurtful and very toxic. That's what I was experiencing. My oversight would just go high. And he actually told me at one point, like, well, what I do, he oversaw several women. He said, what I do is I grind you into dust. And then when I feel like you're ready, I'll start giving some things back to you. Well, that's demeaning. That is super toxic. That's unhealthy. It's unhelpful. And I really was starting to feel like, oh my gosh, there is something wrong with me. Like, this person hates me. And my self-esteem was like this big. And I remember after one particular meeting, and he basically said, "You're not leaving until you cry." And I'm like, I'll be danged if I'm going to cry, right? And finally, I just like, I got to get out of here. And I wish I would have had, honestly, I wish I would have had the strength to just say, this is toxic, I'm out. You know, because God's going to provide for us, right, guys? But sometimes we get afraid and we get fearful, and we've been ground down into little pieces of nothing where we feel like, well, nobody's going to want me. What am I going to do? Which is ridiculous. The minute I left, I started my own practice. And then I did all kinds of fun, exciting, and interesting things and had a fabulous life. But I had to recover from it. So a lot of it is, hey, get the help you need to recover. I got into some coaching. It's like, Nancy, that was toxic. Because, you know, sometimes when you're in a toxic environment, you're like the frog who stayed in the boiling water. You know, what they say is, if you put a frog into boiling water, he'll jump right out. But if you put a frog into just regular water and then turn up the heat, the frog will boil. And that's oftentimes what happens to people. You're in an environment that just kept getting more and more and more toxic. And then you're boiling to death and you don't even realize it. So I'd say step number one, get some healthy people around you who can look in on your situation and go, hey, that is not healthy. And have you thought about leaving? And then once you've left, you keep those healthy people around you to say, hey, you know what? You're not a worthless human being. You did nothing wrong. Or here's some ways you could do some growth work. And here's some ways you maybe need to develop yourself. Like maybe you let your work ethic go and you need to really work on that. Maybe you got thinking like, maybe you'd gone high, like I'm better than everybody else. And so you just need to get that help where you can see what's healthy shame and what's toxic shame and do the recovery work that you need to do.
You know you're the best, right?
Oh, no.
You're like literally the best.
Oh, well, thank you.
I know you said you don't like the words of affirmation too much, but not the words of affirmation, the love language thing.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tap right into the words of affirmation.
Okay.
You're literally the best.
Oh,
like
thank
you
Hector.
have helped. Obviously, you're helping this person and a lot of other people, but you have personally, like my children will thank you because I am altering as a human and evolving.
Thank you.
And I catch myself. Like if I'm talking with my wife and I'm the extreme guy, like you're the old boss guy.
Yeah.
Not evil like that type of energy, but like it's either like I'm freaking killing it, super awesome, or I'm really mean and rageful, or I'm depressed and not, and like it's just it's so extreme versus like a nice balance. Yeah. So like that's just a sidebar of me saying like thanks. Oh. That's literally all. That's all.
Well, thank you, Hector. I received
you
that.
receive it, amen.
I love you. I love you, man.
I love you. We have one from I don't know how to say their name. I don't want to say it wrong. D. Harris. I'll say that.
Okay. Hi, D.
Hi, D. How to bring back a forgotten / repressed memory of child sexual abuse.
You know, what a great question. Thank you, Dee, for asking that question, because I think this is a question that so many thousands of people can identify with. As a matter of fact, I had somebody in my office just yesterday saying, well, I can't remember most of my childhood. And I said, well, share with me what you can remember. And oh my goodness, she had some terrible sexual trauma. And I'm like, the first thing I think we have to do is understand the beauty of our own brains. Like when
real quick, Nance.
Yeah.
This is from D. Harris. She actually sent in context.
Oh.
Julie is sick right now, but she sent me the screenshot.
Oh, cool.
So she's working too.
Oh.
But she said for context, in regards to that question, I asked a question about repressed memories of child sexual abuse because I'm pretty sure something might have happened to me when I was very little, but I can't remember. Yeah. I remember certain odd incidents with my little brother, weird sexual dreams I used to have as a little girl, and feeling totally grossed out and uncomfortable about penises. I started this whole journey of wanting to understand the sexual tension from my childhood once I got married because of the triggers that came up when I started having sex with my husband. It's
Yeah.
been very frustrating. Thanks, Nancy. And she put like a little heart in the praying emoji.
Oh, what a sweetheart. Thank you for that context. Thank you, Julie. We miss you today.
you.
We love you, Jewel. Julie's homesick, and so we are missing her. But she's so sweet. Look at her sending us the context. Okay, so first of all, Dee, I would say you are completely normal to not be able to recall all of the story, and you're normal that you're having some memories. It's kind of like the pieces of a puzzle, and you've got a few of the pieces. And so what I would say is trust the pieces. And I believe God reveals to heal. And so he's revealing gently and kindly and a little bit at a time. He doesn't want you overwhelmed. He doesn't want to flood you with really horrible bad memories that your psyche is not able to contain. And so it's kind of coming to you in pieces. For example, it might come like in a flash of a memory here, and maybe a smell, or maybe something that, like even lovemaking with your husband, like, ooh, this reminds me of that. And that's just all normal. That's how repressed memories start to emerge. So what you want to do is make it safe enough inside of yourself for these memories to emerge. What I mean by that, this is why, Hector, I love adaptive child work so much. That little child inside of you, Dee, had to adapt, had to find a way to survive and cope. So you're a brilliant little girl, and what I want you to do is like take that little adaptive child on your lap and say, thank you, honey. Thank you that you figured out how to survive, how to cope, how to get through. And part of that was the disassociation of not remembering all the memories. Literally, when our brains have trauma, there's kind of like a little bit of a shattering where your memories get fragmented is probably a better way to say it, where you no longer have access to the whole storyline of what happened. And that's because as a child, it's too much. So it's really a gift. So I want you to thank that little girl that she got you through it. I want you to thank your brain, that your brain found a way to cope with some scary things that were happening to you sexually. And so say, thank you. I don't want you to be harsh to this child any longer. One of my favorite sayings is harshness heals nothing.
Amen.
I want you to be super kind to that child inside of you and reassure her, now I'm the adult D. And so little D, I'm going to take care of you, and I'm going to love you, and I'm going to be kind to you. I'm not going to blame you, and I'm not going to beat up on you. Listen, when children are in a home, and let's just say, for example, like I heard a story yesterday that 5 boys went on a camping trip with a man, and this man raped 2 of the boys while all the boys were watching. And so those boys came home, and then they started raping one another. I know this is an extreme story, but those boys started acting out what was done to them. And so, we can either look at, oh my gosh, what is wrong with these boys? Or we can get curious and go, oh my gosh, what happened to these boys? Right? So when there's sexual inappropriate acting out in homes with child to child, sibling to sibling, I think we've got to ask ourselves a bigger question, a deeper question. Has something happened to these children? Were these children exposed to adult sexuality that they are ill-prepared to handle? And what do these children need to recover from whatever happened? I've had families in my office where one of the boys was sexually abusing his younger brother. And like when we get into the story, we're not blaming anybody. We're not hunting the bad guy. We're just trying to make it safe for everybody to heal and recover. Then we can find out, well, the older brother had been sexually abused by a neighbor. We don't just fall out of a tree and have sexual behavior, inappropriate sexual behavior. We get exposed to inappropriate sexual behavior. And then as children, we can act it out. It's not that you're bad. It's not that you're dirty. It's not that you're some little pervert. That's not it. So we have to stop shaming ourselves so that we can make it safe enough to actually unpack our stories. So please love yourself and make it safe enough to start unpacking. And then we have to separate sexual behaviors. We have to separate what's evil and what's good. So making love to your husband is a good and a sweet thing, hopefully. If it's not, then let's pause and address what isn't good and sweet about that, right? Marriage sex is meant to be an act of love. It's meant to be about bonding. It's meant to be about attachment. Yes, it's erotic and pleasurable and beautiful and sexual and fun and all those good things. And it's meant to be all of those good things. If it's not that, then you got to pause, got to figure out what's going on there. And then we've got to separate out. This was evil. Childhood sexual trauma is evil. I think it comes straight from the pit of hell. I think only the enemy could invent something so horrible, to do something so horrible to children. Children are innocent. Children are pure. Children are sweet. And yes, can they be challenging and difficult and all those things? Of course, they're human. But do you really need the care that you deserve to heal from all these memories? And so don't dismiss them, but hold them gently and tenderly and kindly as you find your pathway to healing.
So, real sidebar, we do have more questions. I just want, I'll have a personal one in regards to all of this.
Yeah.
So, a quick context, I have never been like sexually assaulted, like with my body, my genitals, none of that ever, right?
Yeah.
But something one of my therapists from a while back had told me, she was just asking for the history of my life.
Yeah.
And she's asking about like, when did your porn addiction start? And I was like, well, it started when my older cousins told me, hey, there's porn in the other room from our uncle, if you know.
Yeah.
They basically like, hey, hint, hint, if you want to go watch it, it's over there.
Yeah.
They never touched me. They were never like sexual, like to me in any like fashion of that way. That was the one thing, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, you were sexually abused. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, I wasn't. Like, that didn't make any sense to me. I'm like, they didn't touch me. It's like, no, it had nothing to do with that.
No.
They had a responsibility as the older cousin to like hide that from you. You were 8 years old.
Yes.
No 8-year-old needs to be exposed to that.
Yes.
So I just wanted could you expand on that idea of, because sometimes it's not just the touch of genitals or body.
Absolutely.
It could be mental and stuff like that. So could you expand on that?
It's exposure. You as an 8-year-old, sweet little 8-year-old innocent boy were sexualized by adult sexual behavior that your little brain, your little body has no ability to know how to deal with that or contain that. So actually I'm like, hey, adults, please, I will beg you, if you've got porn in your home, you have a responsibility to protect all the littles from it. Your own children, the neighbor kids, your nieces, your nephews. You have got to make sure that children are not being exposed. Now, let me also follow up with this. We are living in a world where our children are being exposed frequently, innocently, often. I mean, my goodness, like I've said before, like I thought Etsy and Pinterest were like for decorating and cute crafts and I'm like, oh Lord, there's like nothing innocent anymore. And so that's why parents, we're not going to be able to do it perfectly, but that's why we have to have conversations with our children. Children are curious. If somebody says, hey, you can go in the other room and see pictures of naked ladies, kids are going to go look. They're curious. And so we have to be a step ahead of our children's sexual curiosity, and we need to be doing really healthy, good, age-appropriate sexual education. So that's where you are like getting some really good, healthy books on. Stan and Brenna Jones wrote a series on talking to your kids about sex. You can order it on Amazon. I'd encourage you to. Age appropriate. And so you are actually being protective of your children, and you are filling their curiosity bucket so that when somebody says, hey, dude, do you want to see naked pictures of ladies or whoever, then your child can go, no, my mom and dad already talked to me about all that. My curiosity cup's been filled up in a healthy way.
We have one more. Thank you for answering that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
always nice to have the context, because some people might have been sexualized without even, like, some people might think it has to be the worst of the worst of the touch or the rape.
No.
It could be as simple as porn over there.
Well, think about porn, though. You're oftentimes watching rape.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like a raping of your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, your body's not being raped, but your mind is. And you're taking in that kind of violence, that kind of demeaning behavior, and then it's all being normalized. You know, and that's what literally breaks my heart about what the porn industry has done to human beings and to children.
We have one from, his name is so cute. Juan the Social Butterfly.
Oh,
Just a little Mexican butterfly flying around.
I like it.
A little Latin love. He says, how do you forgive yourself when you have hurt your significant other with betrayal? They forgave me, but I struggle with myself. So maybe we paint two scenarios, because he didn't give context.
Yeah.
There's a scenario of like straight up cheated on her, or could it be as simple as, not simple, but lying about an addiction or anything, because it could be
any kind of betrayal.
Any kind of betrayal. Yes.
Yes. Okay. I think that we've got to realize that before true forgiveness can really genuinely happen, there's got to be a season of grief, and where you have to grieve that you've betrayed somebody you love. And so you've got to grieve that deeply and profoundly. And you've got to walk a mile in your spouse's shoes, and you've got to feel what they feel. That is healthy shame, right? I was in a session a couple months ago with a couple, and he's like, he's betrayed his wife several times with porn and flirting and emotional stuff and some sexual stuff. And he's like, well, I've just never felt what my wife feels. And I just straight up said to him, dude, you're lacking empathy for her. And you need to feel what she feels, because this has felt awful for her. She has been devastated by your betrayals. And she needs you to feel the empathy that she needs in order to recover. You need to look her square in the eyes and say, I feel what you feel. It feels horrible to feel betrayed. It's devastating. And I am so sorry that I have betrayed you and I've hurt you deeply and I've treated it like you're just supposed to get over it. You are not supposed to just get over it. Please forgive me for pushing you to get over it, so I will stop shame spiraling. Here's the thing that can happen, I think, a lot. And if it's okay, well, I don't want to do that. I was going to say men or women, but let's not do that. Let's just say somebody has betrayed their spouse, and they do feel shame about it. So what they do is a shame spiral every time the topic is brought up to talk about it. And then this spouse who is betrayed ends up taking care of this shame spiral and the moodiness. And you guys, that's not this person's job to take care of your mood or your shame. When you've betrayed, you've got to get the support and help you need. Like, get in a group. My dear friend, Rick Reynolds, has an organization called Affair Recovery in Austin, Texas. You can get in an online group if you have betrayed your spouse, and you can get support around you and start doing the work you need to do to recover so that you're not laying your shame at your spouse's feet, and then they're supposed to take care of not only that you betrayed them, now they're supposed to take care of your moodiness and your shame.
Could you expand on what that looks like when, like, let's say it's a dude that cheated on a wife.
Yeah.
And he starts to do the spiral.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think he maybe gets moody, maybe goes real dark, goes silent, starts drinking too much, starts getting lost in work, or does some blame, or maybe says, well, listen, all my dude friends are looking at porn. What's wrong with you? Why can't you just accept it like their wives do? Like, what's the big deal? He starts shaming her because he's actually feeling significant shame himself, and he doesn't know what to do with his shame. So, hey, if you don't mind, I'll go back to the adaptive child. Like, dude, you got to start loving that little guy inside of you first. And like, hey, I'm here to help you stabilize your moods. I'm here to help stabilize and contain you as your wise adult, right? Like, this man still has a wise adult, right? And we need to call forth the wise adult man in you to say, hey, buddy, you need to help this kid recover and deal with his shame. Because honestly, it's shame that drives every addictive cycle. So we've got unresolved guilt and shame. Most people tend to go towards some type of an addiction. Food, sex, alcohol, even watching like binging Netflix or chocolate or whatever. You know, a love addiction. I've got to have love around me. I've got to have a woman around me to love me and take care of me. You know, there's all these ways we act out our shame. So for me, if we're going to stop addictive cycles, we've got to deal with the shame. And the shame probably started way before the betrayal ever came along.
Listen, I can relate. Everything you're saying, I'm like, oh my God, I've done all that.
Well, we all do, right?
I've done that so many times to my wife,
Sure.
where I have clearly in the wrong, right? Like porn, flirting, like any, whatever, name it.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I see, what is it called? I see like certain sectors where maybe one sector I'll be very, I hate myself. I'm ruined. I want to kill myself. Then the next time I'm projecting, well, you didn't check on me. You didn't. Like, it's just so much pointing, right? And then going dark, just complete silence. Yeah. I run away from home. I'm hiding. I'm drinking, like blackout drunk, just to escape. And like, it is a spiral because it's so many different stages it could be. Yeah.
And Hector, thank you. You just described so well what happens. And, you know, I think it happens to all of us. You know, like, I think sometimes women can feel crummy about themselves and they want their man to make them feel better, right? It's like, you want your wife to, well, make me feel better. And honestly, we can't do that for each other. This is where you got to start doing your own internal work and like go, oh, adaptive child, you are shame spiraling right now. You know how you know when you're shame spiraling? Listen to your own language. I call it shame language. We should probably call it shame. We need to come up with a word for it. Shame language.
Shame language works.
That's what it is. And it's always like, I'm such a moron. I can't do anything right. I need to just eat worms and then die. Or I'm better than everybody. If you would do this and if you would do this, and, you know, we go high, we go low. And so just listen to your own language, man. And you'll know when you're shame spiraling. And that's when you got to reach out to that little kid inside of you and go, hey, buddy, I'm here to contain you. And if I can't contain you, we're going to reach out to our buddy Derek and give him a call and say, hey, I'm shame spiraling. And when I shame spiral, I like to act out.
Yep.
And can you contain me right now? You know, and containment just means you put like some protective walls around this person, put your arms around them literally and figuratively and like, okay, buddy, I'm going to hold the wastebasket, dump out what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're thinking about, and let's get it up and out. And I'm just going to let you vent, and I'm going to be here for you, and I'm not going to fix you.
So good. Okay, so this one's an anonymous person.
Yeah.
How do I deal with my boss who has narcissistic tendencies? I see that they want to control, and anytime I try to give feedback or offer any sort of critique, it's immediately turned around on me. Is he a narcissist, or are these just tendencies of a bad leader?
Well, I think it could be both, but regardless, he's got grandiose behavior. And people who have grandiose behavior need a hand down. But as an employee, that's not your role. And so you are in a double bind, my dear friend. And so I would highly recommend you update your resume. Update your resume. I mean, honestly, if you're working for a narcissist, start planning your escape route. Most likely that's not going to get better. And you aren't going to be able, narcissists recruit people to meet their narcissistic needs. And they especially love people who are warm, nurturing, caring. And then they take advantage of that and they don't care. They don't have shame about using others to meet their narcissistic needs. So start planning your escape route. If you need to update your resume, do it. If you need to take some new courses, take them. If you need to finish your degree, finish it. If you need to, get more skilled in whatever it is you really want to be doing, do it. Do not spend your life. You only have one life to live, my friends. You have one glorious, beautiful life to live. Don't spend it working for a narcissist. It will not end well. So take care of you. Figure out what you need to do to create a life you want to be in. And let's face it, you work 40 hours a week. Now, a lot of times it's more like 50, 55, 60. Goodness sakes, that's like a third of your life. Make sure you are working towards a work life that you actually want to show up for.
All right, so we're wrapping up on this pod. We got a few minutes left. Why don't we just kind of go back to what is to come? You have, did you say the name already of what the name is?
It's Better Lives Coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's our goal. We want to help you live a better life. We really, truly, genuinely do. I'm honestly not building this because I want to build something for me. I already have a great career. I just want us to expand and make this available to more and more people.
And just for everyone to know, in the link of the description today, we're going to add a Discord server because, Nancy, this is just all nerdy stuff. That
okay, good.
You never even have to look at it.
I probably won't. I won't get it anyway.
Discord server is it's a really easy app for communities to use.
Oh, cool.
So that they can talk in there.
Oh.
They can send message. You know what? Have you ever used like AOL Messenger back in the day?
Yes.
It's a version of that.
Okay, good.
But people can send in voice messages.
I love it.
They can watch the pod, and then after the pod's done, they can go hang out in there and talk about the pod.
Okay.
So we're implementing that. It's a free app for everyone to use, and it's just going to help us build this community. Because I think that's maybe you can expand on this as we wrap. We need to build this community because we want it to be a community.
We do, and we love y'all, and we want to be here for you. and we want to connect with you. So this sounds amazing.
It's not AOL Messenger, I promise.
Okay.
It's called Discord.
I love it. I trust you, Hector. I trust you. Sorry,
Not
I'm
sponsored-
a dinosaur buddy.
No. I'm just saying we're
I
not.
can text you.
Hey man, we're not sponsored by AOL. That's all I'm saying.
Okay,
But
sounds good.
I think that's it. That was a really good pod. I really love that
Mm.
we got to answer all of those questions from those people
Yeah.
and expand on
Yeah.
it. Thanks for answering my selfish questions because I definitely threw my stuff in there.
I love it when you do. It makes it real.
Yeah.
And Hector, I think you represent like so much of the male population that I really love hearing you. And our whole goal here is like we just want to be real with everybody, and we want to be authentic. And I think I love it that your generation is sick and tired of fake. I don't like it either. It's like I had a friend who's my age asked me the other day, like, so is there anything off topic on your pod? And I said, absolutely not.
Yeah.
We will talk about anything, because how else are we going to help people live better lives if they can't bring what they're struggling with to the table and have somebody care about them and answer it honestly. So that's what we want to do.
So I know you don't like the self-promoting, so I'm going to do it. Everyone, I need y'all to prepare for this because it's going to be, we need this community to be committed. Like for you, we want you to be a part because obviously you're going to have the pod. The pod's always going to be free.
Yeah.
You're going to have this podcast. That's going to be the blessing to the entire world. So it's easy for you to just text it to somebody, right? About any topic. But for the website, that's going to be a commitment that you're going to have to take a step into if you want to continue to grow outside of just the podcast. And you want to talk about specifically on your marriage, or if you need to hit things on your addiction, whatever it is. We can only talk about so much on the pod because the pod is going to cut off at 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But if we can get you in a group and we can get you a coach and you can be plugged in and have a face-to-face with somebody, that is where like all this information you're getting from the pod, this is like almost like school a little bit.
Right.
You get all this info,
Yeah.
but then when you get to work with someone directly, that's where the change is. So as Nancy and the people that are helping make all of this happen, as it progresses, we're going to continue to update you. And we need you to, if you're a part of this community, I'm gonna straight up tell you, because I don't think Nancy wants to do it, you need to hop on the ship. Like you have to hop on the ship if this is what you desire. If it's not and you just like the pod and you want some info, cool.
Yeah, we love
Enjoy it. It's always gonna be free.
Yeah.
But to go to the next level in your life for that better life, literally, you're gonna have to hop on the ship.
Yeah.
So that's all. You can wrap up now. That was it.
Well, one of my favorite topics is adult development. And adult development teaches us that we're never limited and we're meant to grow all the days of our lives and develop ourselves all the days of our lives. So, my friend, I want you to live a vibrant life. I want your life to be colorful. I want your life to be a great adventure. The only way that's going to happen is if you keep growing. So please do. I want your life to be a great adventure. We love you all, and thanks so much for joining us today and listening and sharing and just being in this community with us.